Hey everybody, this is Ian O'Byrne. This is another interview that we're conducting with authors from the recent issue of the Tapestry Journal. In the journal, we looked at digital literacies and English learners or second language acquisition. I'm here with one of the authors of the pieces that we talked with last week. The name of the piece is Exploring New Paths to Academic Literacy for English Language Learners. And I have the honor and privilege of spending a little bit of time with Dong-Shin. Dong-Shin, would you introduce yourselves a little bit and tell us where you're dialing in from?
My name is Dong-Shin Shin. I'm an assistant professor in Northern Illinois University. I am teaching undergraduate and graduate courses in ESL bilingual education program. I am from Naperville, Illinois.
Very cool. So we had a chance to speak with your colleague that wrote the piece with you last week, and she shared some of the initial insight. Can you explain for us the piece that you submitted to Tapestry, and more importantly, what motivated you to submit that piece?
Yes, we want to bridge the gap between in and out of digital literacy practices. Outside of school, students use digital technologies to find information and express themselves and make friends. But contrary to their rich digital literacy practices in school, students' digital literacy practices are limited. So in the article, we want to provide teachers effective ways to use digital technologies in supporting English language learners' academic literacy development. That was the main reason for us to write the article for that special issue.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's always challenging thinking about what our students are doing outside of school and what they're doing inside of school with these digital practices. And as you mentioned, they have these rich skill set that they're using, outside that they may not be using inside, or vice versa. So why is this work important? Why is it important for us to identify ways to better utilize those digital literacies, use those digital texts and tools with English learners in the classroom?
These days, our literacy practices are mediated by digital technologies. Think about our communication, our reading and writing activities that we are engaged in every day. And I could say digital literacy is a core component of 21st century skills. So it is essential for English language learners to develop abilities and expertise in using these digital technologies for their academic work, for their future professions, and for their civic life. So, we just think it is really important skill expertise for all students, including English language learners.
It's one of the key components. Is that you said that it's essential. It's when I go give talks about literacy and technology, a couple of years ago we would say it would be nice if students use these digital texts and tools in the classroom, and now we realize that it's an essential skill. You need to have these abilities or else you can't succeed in the future. So we're not really educating students if we're not building up those digital literacies, those web literacies, and building this skill set into what students currently do. So we understand the power, and we understand the opportunities, but what challenges are there? What are some things that might work or might not work as we bring digital literacies into our classroom and into English language learner settings?
I would think this question from a teacher's perspective in K-12 settings. I can think of just a few challenges teachers are facing in using digital technology. First is lack of resources. More schools are better equipped with computer technologies, and English language learners have more access to computer technologies. But in terms of digital divide, we teachers also need to address lack of cultural and social capital that English language learners face in using uh, digital technologies. And many studies, as we know, report that in wealthy suburban school districts, teachers use digital technologies for more creative or more just authentic way. But in urban school settings, teachers tended to use digital technologies for drill and practice of basic language skills. I think in terms of digital divide, first teachers address this kind of just cultural and social capital issues that English language learners face. And
I,
second, yes.
One of the things that's interesting to me is you talked about, and this is not one of the questions that we had on the list. I apologize for a new one, but this is one of the things that we talked about before we went live. Is some of that person-to-person, face-to-face negotiation of language. You know, talking to someone or trying a new food. You know, really immersing yourself in that culture. Is it possible to, with digital texts and tools, still engage with culture? Is it still possible to, because we know culture is a big part of language and literacy, is it possible to still engage with that culture and immerse yourself in culture even using digital literacies?
Yes, of course, because these days, if you are interested in Korean culture, there are online community that you can get opportunities to meet Koreans and learn about Korean language and Korean culture, not just only just finding pop culture, but also you can meet just local people on a digital settings. So I think this technology is a tool for promoting globalization and intercultural awareness.
It's fascinating to me thinking about how technology, has the potential to change a lot of, the way that we interact and socialize. And, you have the opportunity, you can reach out and connect as we are now. We're not that far away, really, considering how large the globe is. But we have the opportunity to connect and collaborate and communicate. And it's, I talk to some colleagues that say that they're afraid that we lose some of that culture. That there is something to be gained by going down to that restaurant, going to that market, going into a school, or going into a community and talking with people. So in your piece, you talked a lot about, in school and out of school, and we talked about, a lot of the literacy practices in our classroom, and then the literacy practices and cultural practices outside the classroom. What opportunities, from your perspective, through the use of digital texts and tools, through the use of these digital literacies, do we help build in for our students, to try and bridge that gap between the in school and the out of school?
You are asking, so what kind of opportunities we can just get from use of digital technologies in language learning? Yeah, I think we can think about just a number of affordances. First, since we talked about just accessing to students' funds of knowledge, so I want to talk about just that piece, that aspect first. Teachers can have better access to students' funds of knowledge through internet resources, and then also I think teachers can just use computer technology to better respond to students' multiple intelligences through use of multimodal practices. And then this comment let me just talk about one of the benefits of use of digital technology is multimodal instructions. In language learning, learners have more meaning-making resources, and these meaning-making resources involves video, just text, and sound, and images. And this kind of multimodal literacy practices allow English language learners to develop semiotic competencies. In addition to developing language proficiency, I think that is just number one, just benefits of just using multimodal just tools in language teaching. And also, I think in terms of language learning, teachers can provide more efficient ways of developing language skills through authentic and well-designed call and CMC activities. Learners can use language while learning language. So in terms of English language learners can have opportunities to use English while learning the languages while learning the languages. So that is the second just point. And I also think of just in terms of technologies, in terms of reading, teachers can promote English language learners non-linear critical thinking through use of hyperlink. And then also lastly, this kind of multimodal just literacy practices, and then easier access to just students' bunch of knowledges, allows English language learners to express their linguistic and cultural identities just a lot more efficient and meaningful ways.
Thank you very much. I'm especially moved by the idea of the the meaning making and making sense of and creating or attending to like the semiotic meaning behind language and expression.
Yes.
So I wanted to thank you for sitting in on the interview. This is one piece in the larger tapestry piece. If Martha were here, she would say that if you were to go online and you'd search, in Google or your favorite search engine for the Tapestry Journal, you would find this themed issue on digital learners and English language learners, the digital literacy and English learners. The name of the piece is Exploring New Paths to Academic Literacy for English Language Learners. And I had a privilege to speak with Dong-Shin Shin for a little bit and talk more about why this is so important. Last words, Dong-Shin?
Yes. Thank you for invitation. I enjoyed. And then just if you have more just questions, you can just email us. We have our contact information in that piece. Thank you very much.
Yes, excellent. And once again, the Tapestry piece, all of the pieces in this journal are openly available online. The authors are all incredible. They've all offered to have these interviews to talk about their piece and why it was so important. And I think it's important for us to watch these videos, read the pieces, and then reach out to the authors, reach out to the researchers, and have dialogue about what they're talking about. And let's make this happen in our classrooms. So with that, I'll wrap it all up, and thanks for watching.